Welcome, 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 everyone, to another episode of Your Next 50, where we invite you to play big, play bigger, be intentional, and conquer those money stories and those limiting beliefs that have been holding you back from moving forward. And I know that some of you are not moving forward, and sometimes we don't move forward. And that's why we are here today. And we have an amazing show. But first of all, I am Sylvia.
And I am Jenny. And there's a beautiful new face between us, Sylvia. Who is this gorgeous woman here?
She
Introduce
is the
yourself.
lovely Hadriana Leo. And I have had many chats with Hadriana, and Jenny, we are in for a treat. Hadriana, we're going to let you talk about yourself, but you are the Money Navigator. I want to hear more about this. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Hadriana.
Well, when I was trying to figure out what to call myself, how to differentiate in this whole world of personal finance, I thought, what can I do? Who do I want to serve and all that? One of the reasons I chose the Money Navigator is because I'm the one who helps guide you, but I never take the wheel. And it's important, I think, that especially when I'm working with women, that they remain the ones choosing their destination for their finances, and they are in charge of the decision making, which are two things that I think we're very much missing in the personal finance space. But who am I? I am a mom. I am a wife until further notice. And
that's another show.
I like
to do have a show about divorce coming up, Hadriana, but we'll keep that.
Yeah, comes the word. I like to think that in all aspects of what I do, I aim to be an inspiration. So I do sing inspiring songs. I took piano lessons, Jenny. I never developed the dexterity to play it well. But my gift to the world, among other things, is helping women create wealth, embrace wealth, go after it, and to do it with confidence and without apology. And I lean on to these two things, confidence and unapologetically, because we've been programmed differently. And it's time for us to kind of reprogram that thought so that we can deliver our gifts to the world through wealth that is managed by women. And I could go on, but I think in a nutshell, that's the Coles Notes. And I think we can jump off from there anywhere Jenny wants to go.
Confidence and without apology. Wow. Yeah. And today our topic is how wealthy women think differently. Yes. I'm going to be honest. It's like, ooh. Wealthy women think differently? Really? Tell me more, Hadriana. What do you notice?
Well, first of all, it's adapting and adopting that wealth perspective. Women have been raised to be transactional in their finances. We balance a checkbook, we do the groceries, we make sure the kids' hockey is paid for, we do that very transactional. And that comes down to making money and spending money. That's not wealth. Wealth speaks more to a way of being and a way of thinking that creates typically, I think, two silos, either freedom or impact. And if you ask women to define what wealth is, they usually fall under whatever they tell you. It usually falls under one of these two categories. Wealth either means freedom for them or impact for them. And when we start talking about how women think when it comes to wealth, not only is it different from what we've been programmed in that transactional stuff, it's also different from the male energy and the masculine way that money and wealth has been perpetuated for generations. I mean, before time was known, it's been a very masculine approach to money. So we think differently about wealth. And when we have acquired wealth, when we have made the decision to go after it and we can do it boldly and apologetically, our thoughts change. Our thought processes change.
It's a mindset.
Yes.
A mindset shift. So does that mean that women are doing the transactions and that if they have a spouse, that the spouse is worried or not worried, is managing wealth?
Term.
Typically, that's what it boils down to. And I'll tell you something. In my prior life as a traditional financial advisor, not only do the males across the table kind of feel a little uncomfortable when the female is the one telling them what to do as the advisor and the one with the knowledge and all the exams and all that, but men, just like when they're lost and can't decide if they need to turn right down the next street or the one after that, financially, they also don't feel comfortable saying, I have no idea what you just said, but, just do it. And, I'm going to bluster my way through this and let's hope we're okay. Do you know how many families are being taken for a ride up the creek because the female or the feminine in the relationship is not asserting, is not asking, and is not putting herself in the conversation, and the male is not saying, I am lost, I have no idea. You know how many families are being impacted by this? And unfortunately, we're not challenging those roles. We're not opening our eyes to see it. When it does show up, though, unfortunately, it's usually when there is mass trauma, emotions. So it shows up at the death of a spouse. It shows up when there's divorce and separation. It shows up when something traumatic has happened, a loss of a job or something like that. And then a woman is like, I have no idea. Right? I have no idea.
No, so I remember when my grandfather died, this is quite a few years ago, my grandmother had never written a check before. She would have been 65, 70 maybe at the time. Isn't that, I mean, maybe it's not shocking, Hadriana.
It isn't shocking for women of that generation. And while women now, I mean, it's more common to see us working and earning and contributing to the finances of the home, the wealth conversations are still not being shared with both leaders in the household. If a woman is not in a partnership, she's just not having the conversations at all. She is not forcing these conversations with the professionals that serve her. It still comes down to contribute to your RSP, $200 every month, and you'll have $1 million by the time you retire. You should be fine. No, these are not wealth conversations.
Do you know what's coming up for me? It's like going to the garage. When you take your car to the garage, I don't know cars very well, and I was very thankful. I just retired a car after 13 and a half years and went to the garage a lot, but I didn't understand what they were telling me. And I'm not going to go and learn about cars to understand that. But I always felt intimidated by these guys in their jumpsuits, like just telling me about what my car needs. And I feel the same way in front of my advisor. They're just wearing suits.
Yes.
And so I don't have the mental space to learn about that because I have all of the other mental load in my life at the moment. So that for me has been a challenge.
Yes.
So, that is a big hurdle I find. But Jenny and I, we had a stat, I think at the beginning of our podcast at one point that 50% of women do not control their money. That's a big number.
And the other stat, Hadriana, which ties into what you said, was in general, women tend to do the short-term finances and men hold the longer-term longer-term investments and, like you said, wealth planning.
Yeah, it's scary. Absolutely. And I wanted to just jump on to what you said, Sylvia. Your experience at the mechanic, you're not intimidated so much by not knowing about cars. You distrust the relationship.
That's right.
You cannot be sure that this person has your best at heart. And we cannot expect to have to become experts in every area of our lives in order to get the best outcomes. Our challenge as women is that inherent distrust we have with mechanics, car salesmen, and financial professionals, because we do not trust that they now know enough, understand us enough to deliver the best for us. I'm not going to become a mechanic major. I am not going to do that. But I need to have someone provide me with a service in such a way that I am not intimidated when I go get it done. And that's the disconnect. It continues to be the disconnect for women when it comes to wealth conversations. We have not yet made mainstream a conversation that understands who we are and why we are, and that would allow us to have a wealth conversation. Because everything about personal finance is numbers, which is very left brain. It doesn't resonate with many women, at least not from the perspective of, why am I doing this, right? So if you ask a guy, very broad generalizations here. Let's just say that right now we're talking masculine and feminine energies for the most part, but usually they are embodied in how we face the world and our physical way we face the world. But every time I say man, think masculine energy.
Yep.
But if you ask someone, if you ask a guy, why are you investing or saving for your child's education? They're going to say, oh yeah, I just want to be able for them not to have to, have any debt when they come out. And that's great. Ask a woman and her idea might be a little different. While she is also saving for her child's education, she might say to you, I need my child or my daughter to be empowered so that she never has to be beholden to anyone for her livelihood. Same actions, different reasoning. Altogether different. And that's the basis of why women are disconnected from wealth conversations. The why is not being taken into consideration. We're not talking about it. And we absolutely need to dig a little deeper. We have to turn the system on its head for our own sake and for the sake of the world. The world needs us.
Well, Hadriana, to pick up on this, if you're listening and this is really resonating, I think there's a real risk that you disconnect from the discourse. And when you have your money in a bank account, correct me if I'm wrong, Hadriana, and it's not doing anything for you, every year you are behind the 8 ball because inflation continues. Maybe you're making 1% on your savings, but even if you're not in GICs, we're not a finance guru class, but doing something to maintain your wealth, let alone, because doing nothing means you are behind the 8 ball. Am I right?
Yes, you are losing value on your money. It's the same reason why 20 years ago, 30 years ago, a burger was what, $1.50? But right now, the same burger, same patty, same bun, same really, really miserly piece of lettuce thrown together is being offered to you for $5 because now the dollar does less for you. Yep. So you need more of it in order to. Same things happening with real estate, same things happening across the board. We need to have strategies in place and opportunities for our money to grow faster than the loss of value. And that will keep happening, right? That's why we need to invest our money and not keep having to work for every dollar that you're making. You're going to run out of time. You're going to run out of capacity to work. And when you go to the grocery store and you see the price of everything, the pandemic, the price points, it's just, my husband says, oh, I put money in the account. I'm like, guy, you joke.
You haven't gone grocery shopping. It's gone up.
Hello, dude.
It has gone up. I really see a big difference. Can we go back to being in front of that financial advisor? How does the wealthy woman approach that situation?
Yes.
Compared to the not wealthy woman?
And that's very interesting because I think a lot of women think they have to grow a pair and become this brash and boisterous. We're not asking women to step outside of their authentic way of being. We're asking you to step up and ask questions. We're saying when you go and you sit with your financial advisor, do not accept, oh, you won't understand this, just trust me. Lord, help me. I can shoot somebody. That is an unacceptable response by any advisor, but it should absolutely be unacceptable for the woman who's creating wealth, because one thing that woman knows is that the buck stops with her,
Her.
not with the person who's giving the advice, which is why I'm the navigator, not the driver, which is why I help you plan options and you pick the route. It's the woman sitting there saying, I do not understand, and until I understand, we are not moving forward. Stand in that power. Understand that the advisor is going to get paid best when you perform best. Understand that it's an exchange. So that wealthy woman doesn't, there's nothing passive about that interaction. You are an active participant when you're talking to that financial advisor, when you're talking to the mortgage agent, when you're talking to the accountant. We cannot be passive if we're going to be impactful in creating wealth for ourselves and those around us.
Wow. Wealthy women ask questions. Wealthy women stand in their power. Wealthy women understand that it's an exchange of ideas, and they step up. I'm seeing this visual of grabbing onto the wheel of their own sailboat.
Yes. Ooh, sailboats. I like that.
So
I-
one thing. So I'm going to say one more thing, Sylvia. One
ahead.
thing I was raised with was, in full disclosure, my family does a lot of their own investing. Hadriana, was nobody will take care of your own money better than you do. And I think there's a positive to that, but there's also like a paralysis of that.
Yes.
Because if you like using the mechanic thing, it's like, okay, well, I don't understand anything about money, so what do I do?
Yes.
Any thoughts for us on that, or places? I think a lot of the people that listen are, how do you get started?
Yeah.
How do you become that wealthy woman? That was my question,
Okay.
right? I mean, how do you move into and step into that? But besides the mindset, like a lot of people, there's, and we can come back to it, but the word wealthy can bring up a lot of stuff.
Yes, it certainly can. And not all of it is positive, because what we've seen, how we've seen wealth demonstrated in the world around us, it's not always something that we want to be connected to or attributed to. We don't necessarily want to be considered that thing or that characteristic. But how do you get started in wealth? You make a decision. You make a decision that the status quo is not gonna, it's just not gonna be sufficient. It will not cut it. And with that one decision made, you will now see that your actions, your ideas, even the questions you ask start falling into a pattern that shows that you're exploring. I think too many times we're just wanting to, I'm wealthy, and happen at the snap of a finger. Wealth is a journey. And someone not long ago says, I'm wealthy and I'm not wealthy. You are wealthy. You've made the decision that that is where you're going. And the journey to getting there, that is inherently your wealth. And however you define it, that is your wealth. If you're looking at it from the purely accumulation of money side of things, you are getting there in the journey to getting there. That's you being wealthy. You get started by making the decision that where I am is not where I want to remain. And the other thing is, we need to build trust. And Jenny, to your point where we're saying, no one else can take care of your money the way you can, or better than you can. The danger there is that you are always going to be limited by what you know. You will always have that hard ceiling of what you know. But in order for us to actually excel, we need to explore. We need to think about, okay, what don't I know and who knows it? How can I tap into that? How can I leverage that for myself? And especially for women, how can I leverage it for my family? How can I leverage it for the next generation? Or how can I leverage that for a cause that is meaningful to me? These are things that women are thinking about all the time. So we need to make the decision. We need to build that trust, and we need to embrace failure. I know we've worked hard for the money. we put in long hours, hard hours, and I'm sitting across from me, and you're saying that there's the potential that this might not work. Are you
Yeah,
what? I rather, get next to nothing in a GIC and know that
totally.
it's safe there than for me to explore something that there's a place for both. And what we need to do as women, once we've made that decision, we're finding people that we trust. You're going to find some that are shysters. I can't get away from that. I don't know how to protect you from that other than to let you know that your gut is usually on point, and that we can inform that we need to learn to trust ourselves as women again. And that instinctual feeling that we have that, something's not right here, go with that, but explore the possibility that, okay, this might go wrong. This might go wrong. When I was an advisor, one of the offices we worked at, we would talk to people about having a paycheck and a play check. So
The Jenny Fund, the Jenny
Fund. Have that fund, have a portion of your investing or your wealth strategy that's the steady on, no bells, no whistles, it's going to do this in that amount of time, nothing. And then have that other allocation that's going to allow you to explore and experiment and be okay with that. It might do fantastic things for you. It might do some interesting things, but either way, you can get the best of both worlds, the security and the exploration. You have now the potential to do more.
What's coming to me is I'm thinking of Jenny and I in our Jenny as a fundraising coach now and working in fundraising. I worked in fundraising for many years, not as a fundraiser, but surrounded by fundraisers and multi-million-dollar fundraisers. And we're lacking role models as women. I find the men I'm thinking of that were the big fundraisers coming in to launch that new building. We're just a different. We need new role models. That's my point. Don't we, Hadriana?
We need more people that'll speak a language that we can resonate with. Because if we wanted to do it the way the guys were doing it, we would have done it already. It's not that we can't do it. We can. But there's no appeal. And we want to see people. I was saying to somebody, Arlene Dickinson's book, I'm looking at it right there in my office. She has Persuasion, and she has her autobiography full of insights about how she did it differently and digging in.
She's Jenny's
She's
idol.
my girl crush. She's my girl crush.
I got to see her a few years ago. She was speaking at an event in Toronto, and I'm like, can I just touch you? It was so down to earth.
Yeah.
You do not see any arrogance or any privilege that she attributes to her wealth. You don't see that, but you hear grit, you hear determination, and that is one smart woman.
Can I tell you my connection?
Yes.
My connection, it just an anecdote, people, who are listening, but as you know, I have a voiceover company, and I was doing a voiceover for a company that does glasses, and we were spending a lot of time going over and over, and I was redoing these texts and like just finally, and then they said, well, let us get the person on the other line to okay this final version. And then they got the person on the line. She goes, yes, it's fine. It was I can't remember the name of the company. And she goes, and they said, yeah, Arlene finally, she okayed this. And I'm like, Arlene who? Arlene Dickinson. It was one of her, I guess, the dragon companies, or one of the companies she runs anyway. And so that's what is that, amazing. 2 degrees? So the person, my producer talked to Arlene, so I'm 2 degrees of separation.
Yes. Now you're right there. You just need to connect the dots.
That's right. That was just an aside, Yeah,
absolutely.
But an important.
There are examples of women who are doing wealth. They're doing it successfully. They're doing it with grace. And they're doing it in a way that resonates with them. I think Arlene is a great example. There are others, and maybe part of the reason why you may not know so many is that a lot of wealthy women are quietly wealthy.
Well, I was just thinking of the woman from Spanx, right? These young women, the woman from Canva, she's only in her 30s. She's like New Zealand's billionaire. They're not there. I think they're so in the thick of things that they're not at that level of yet of teaching others about the wealth side of things. They're building their businesses and becoming billionaires, but
It's
not
interesting.
imparting I would love to sit them down and how, and the venture capitalists and the meetings they've had, and just to get them where they got. It's so fascinating.
I want to hear the stories. And I said, I was being interviewed recently, and I said, I want to speak with Miss Winfrey. I don't want to talk to Oprah. Oprah is the persona. Oprah is the public face of the world. I want to talk to Miss Winfrey because that's the strategist. That's the person who had to break through barriers, the grit, the determination. I want to talk to her. And there are women like that all around us. We just don't know it. I said to my daughter the other day, I said, Z, I want to be the wealthiest woman that nobody knows about. Do you know what I mean? Because I value privacy. I value that time away when I can just be. And I find that the world shows wealth as, in your face, click, click, paparazzi.
Wearing it.
Exactly.
Wearing the wealth.
But me, in defining my terms for wealth, privacy takes a big position for me.
But then I think, playing devil's advocate, is that we need to have your story, and people need to know that you are wealthy, and no matter what the number, and that what it means, and how they can also be that way. I know you do that now, but when you have that stage, like Miss Winfrey does, and doesn't have to be that big of a stage, but sharing that knowledge and being that role model.
I agree. I had a client, because I do real estate as well. I'm coaching this client through her wealth journey. And I also had a project going on in Hamilton, and she also was into real estate. So I took her over there. We were having a great conversation, walked her through our project and so on. And I was saying to her, I want to see more women doing this mentoring and coaching. And she says, I'm looking at her. I'm like, oh. And I think honestly, the lesson for me here is to release the resistance to stepping up and being that voice, because you are right. Others want to see it. Others want to hear it. And perhaps that's part of it. Yes.
Not even they don't even know that they want to see this, but there's an underlying need.
We need those conversations
to change women's wealth around the world or in your own communities.
Yes.
We need to be talking about this more, and we need those role models. We shouldn't have to say, well, I'm thinking right now, who in my community here could I actually talk to about this? Who are those wealthy women? I'm thinking of one, and she's the Arlene Dickinson on the French community, the French Canadian side of things on the Shark Tank show.
Right.
But one woman out of every
Yes.
And can we have access to them?
That's true, because that does with the wealth and the exposure, the barriers do go up just to protect again that privacy and that personal life. Yeah.
So, Hadriana, you talked about choice. I really took notes on that section. You get started by making the decision. And one thing I'm curious about, do wealthy women invest in themselves differently than not wealthy women?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The wealthy woman appreciates that outside of herself, she cannot actually be wealthy. I'll tell you my hashtag. My hashtag for myself is healthy, wealthy, whole. And I believe that wealthy women prioritize their wellness. In fact, if you were to go back to the ancient definitions of wealth, how it showed up linguistically, wealth is connected to wellness when it was originally being used, not money. Wealth was about wellness. And now we're talking about wealth almost strictly in terms of money.
Yeah.
But the wealthy woman, at least the wealthy woman on purpose, I'll say it that way. The wealthy woman on purpose defines wealth in terms of wholeness, so that every part of her is well, and every part of her is whole. And she will never, I believe anyway, you should never go after wealth at the expense of
Mm.
anything else of value to you. Relationships, time, health, connections. If we do that, we are not truly wealthy. And the wealth is going to mess you up.
I love that.
Yeah, and if you're not healthy, right? I mean, if you're not healthy, how can you enjoy your wealth anyway?
Well, it
Yes.
goes
Right?
back to that old phrase way back when we were on a call, one of our podcasts. If you haven't listened to it, I can't remember which one it is, Sylvia, but we asked ourselves, if you truly loved yourself, how would you act and behave? And to me, that what you described as your definition of wealth is right alongside that, Hadriana.
Yeah. And it takes a deliberate choice. It takes a deliberate decision to do that and to build it on your terms and not be stuck with whatever the world is showing us. And we have lots of examples of wealth that's just messed up, right?
So
we can
true.
do it differently, and we can certainly think differently, act differently, and create wealth that's actually impactful in our world as opposed to just accumulative.
I have a question. What was your best receiving of money? Like, what was the best? Was it a paycheck? Was it a real estate deal? What was the time in your life that you received money? I'm a big believer in being grateful and gratitude. And so I'm really working on that. When was the best time you received money, Hadriana?
Yeah, that's interesting, because what's coming to mind for me is actually not money.
Okay.
I had a client. I remember doing a session with an intro session with this young lady. In my sessions, there's always tears once we start peeling back the layers. And this one session, she was so emotional, and what drew me to her was that she saw her need. She saw that she really needed this and could value what we could do together, but she didn't have the cash available. And it was my decision to help her. And I said, you know what? I'm going to help you. We're going to work through this. We'll talk about compensation later. She knitted me the most luxurious scarf with beautiful wool. It is so soft. And I'm not kidding. It is so soft. She boxed it. She tied it. She wrote a lovely note to me. And that, to me, still one of the best paychecks that I've ever gotten. Subsequent to that, we have worked together because she is leaps and bounds from where we started. She has paid me cash since then for services rendered, but that scarf continues to be the best exchange of value that I've ever experienced.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
It's still in the box. I'm fearful of wearing it, but I rub up on it every now and then. It's really very luxurious. And
it's gesture, right? It's the whole gesture behind it. It's the symbolism of it. It's somebody saying thank you in such a unique way too.
Yeah. Because I think all of you know this. When you are working with a client, you're giving your best gift. You're giving your best self. And in exchange, we're asking to be compensated as we should. Not everyone is able to do that. And hopefully we can still deliver our gifts to those who need it. But when what you get in exchange is so meaningful and carries so much love and appreciation, I mean, I'll take the cash, but this feeling is more.
I think one thing that wealthy, wealthy women and wealthy people in general, there is that act of giving. We hadn't touched upon that, but you're bringing that about with the scarf. But that act of giving, because the more we give, the more we can receive, right? It's an exchange, and it comes back. Jenny and I talked a lot about money as energy. And if we're just bottling it up and keep looking at it and look at our bank accounts every day, it's just going to stay stagnant. It has to come and go. And so that's a beautiful the scarf is a beautiful way of, showing that. The giving
I
and
always
receiving.
encourage, I know we have to wrap up. I always encourage women to live with their hands open. When we're talking about wealth, when we're talking about blessings and gifts and all of that good stuff, live with your hands open, because what happens in life is we're so busy trying to hold on to what we consider the little that we have. In our lack mentality, we hold on, but nothing new can come into a closed fist. When we live with our hands open, we're not begging. We're actually saying, I'm open to receive, and I have capacity for things to flow through me and out and over and around. Living our lives that way, not only are we receiving, but we're giving. And that's the way we can approach living, but also wealth. When we live, when we're determined to create wealth for purpose or on purpose, like I say, then you need to live your life open-handed.
Beautiful. Can we do a recap? We've said, if you've been listening, amazing. Being authentic, wealthy women, being yourself, not growing a pair. You don't have to, just being yourself. We said asking questions. Wealthy women ask questions in all facets of their life, not just at the garage and at the financial advisors. We said wealthy women invest in themselves.
Yep.
It's super important, whatever that looks like for you. We said that wealthy women
stand in their power.
Stand in their power.
Wealthy women make choices that suit them and their family. I heard that one.
Mm-hmm.
And wealthy women embrace failure.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Embrace failure, trying new things.
Yes, we're explorers. We're curious. We stay open to new and awesome opportunities. We could go on. We could go
Well, the
on.
last one was giving and receiving, right?
open
Being
hands.
open to giving and receiving. Hadriana, my dear, this has been such an amazing conversation.
It has been.
If you are listening and you need some guidance to become that wealthy woman, or you're already wealthy and you need some tweaking to become wealthier, to give more, to give back to your community, Hadriana is your girl.
Yeah, and I'm happy to do it. It's more of what we need out there, whether you're looking to create wealth for freedom or you're looking to create wealth for impact. It takes a strategy. It takes that support system. And thankfully, I can do that for you. I can certainly get the conversation going and get you exploring. It's my gift to the world. It's my gift to you. So
where can we find you, Hadriana?
HadrianaLeo.com. I'm online. If you want to look up the hashtag Money Navigator, that'll pull me up across all kinds of social media. I'm probably in places I don't even know I am. But best thing to do is to book a wealth strategy session with me. Let's talk. Let's take some of that stuff out of the dark places and shine some light on it. And let's go from there.
I love this. Thank you so much.
And I just think that you have this wonderful energy, that it's such a different, wonderful, warm vibe. I encourage folks to book a strategy call with you. I think that's fantastic. And you've got some wonderful programs as well. So I know we'll hear more about the Catalyst program. What a great name.
Yes, it's the geek in me, the catalyst, that little drop that makes everything go. Ooh. It's really fantastic. I'm not too hung up on the program names and all that. I'm all about the results for the women that I work with. So impact, freedom, let's go get it. It's time.
So, Hadriana, last question and we'll let you go. How are you going to make your next 50 the most impactful?
You know what? I'm doing it now. I'm doing a few things scared. And that is part of me embracing that wealth thought process and mindset. There are a few things that I've wanted to do. I'm an immigrant in the country. We started over when we came in our early 20s, made a lot of mistakes, missed a lot of opportunities. And my next 50, as I have a daughter in grade 12 and one in grade 8. I see the empty nest coming and I'm like, what am I going to do? I'm doing a few things scared. That's my next 50. And it so far has been phenomenal.
I love it. Love it. Love it. Well, thank you for listening, everybody. If you like this episode, please subscribe. Please send it to your friends who need a money navigator. I think we all need a money navigator. Catch us next week. We look forward to another exciting episode. And until then, well, big hugs to everybody. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.